Hello, my name is Crystal Petry, and you are watching another episode of the Crystal Petry Podcast, Season 4. What happens when you turn 50 and realize you're not successful personally or professionally? Today's guest, John, refused to accept that as his final chapter. After reading Think and Grow Rich more than 20 times, he discovered what he calls the missing secret to success, a 12-minute daily technique that transformed his life, multiplied his income, and now powers the minds of elite coaches at the University of Texas in Austin, Texas. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. John Mitchell. How are you?
Hey, Crystal, thank you for having me. I appreciate that. I think a lot of your audience is going to find what we're going to talk about interesting, but I dare say some of them will find it life-changing.
That is the goal for both of those, for it to be interesting, life-changing, and my personal mission that they take that information and empower themselves.
Exactly.
So all of those things will hopefully, and I'm sure, happen during this conversation with you, John. So where in the world are you, Mr. John Mitchell?
In Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. Let's hop into this podcast. So take me back. You're 50 years old. Maybe you just had the birthday. What made you realize you weren't where you wanted to be in life?
Well, basically, I started my career as a CPA. And when I became 30, I decided I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I, like in my 30s and 40s, I was in 7 different businesses. But I hit that point at 50 where, Crystal, I'm just not as successful as I think I should be. And I had 2 goals in my life: to make enough money so I didn't have to work, and to find the woman of my dreams. And on the money, I always did pretty well. I always made $200,000, $300,000 a year. Mm-hmm. But as materialistic as this sounds, at 50, I realized that to have the exceptional life, I had to start netting over $1 million a year. And on the girl at 50, I'd never been married. Although I got to say, I did a lot of interviewing.
Okay.
Although my friends called it begging, which is probably closer to the truth. But nevertheless, at 50, I'm like, well, how am I going to change things? And I don't know, Crystal, it was probably 3 months after I turned 50. This pearl of wisdom comes to me: find the top book in the world on success and apply that book literally word for word to my life. And so I remember when that came to me, I'd jump out of bed. I think the idea is a great idea. And I discovered something that really blew me away. There's one book that's been read by 150 million people, and it's the top book in the world on success by a factor of 10. And that book is Think and Grow Rich, which I bet you've read, haven't you?
I have not read that book. I have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Right. Well, anyway, I'm like, wow, I can't believe this is setting up so perfect that there's one book above all others on success. And so I rush out and buy the book and read the book. And then, Crystal, I discover the problem. It says there's a secret for success, but the author only gives us half of the secret. It's on the reader to figure out the other half. And so I'm bummed out. I mope around for about 3 weeks. And one day I just get up and go, John, come on, man up, figure out the damn secret. And I immersed myself in the book for probably 2 to 3 months, read it 20 times, and ultimately figure out the secret and a 12-minute a day technique to apply it. And I started applying it to a new business I was starting in the reverse mortgage field. And Crystal, suddenly my income starts doubling and doubling and doubling to where approximately 4 years later, I was blessed to see my income go up by 25 times over the 200 to 300,000 a year I was making the prior 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I felt so blessed. But what was really cool, I could see exactly why it was happening. I was just
Okay.
playing the game of life at a higher level. I could do things I could never do before. I had a level of control over my life I'd never had before. And I just became fascinated that you could take two key scientific principles and apply them to your life and so dramatically impact your success. And so, Crystal, about 12 years ago, I finally had enough money so I didn't have to work. And I thought, okay, I'm going to share this with the world. And a month or two after I sold my company, I met the former chancellor and president here at the University of Texas. And he says, hey, you got to teach this at the University of Texas, and why don't we teach it together? And then that led, he introduces me to the athletic director here. And he says, well, I want to learn this 12-minute a day technique. So I teach it to him. And that led to becoming the mental coach for the 18 head coaches.
Mm-hmm.
And so today I teach a class called The Science of Success, the Science of Leveraging Yourself, what I would call advanced leadership of self. And then I have a book for adults called The Missing Secret. So that's what I do.
So what is the core idea behind your 12-minute technique?
Well, basically it's just think about this. How do you create success? I mean, like how would you answer that? How would you say?
I would say, of course, hard work, dedication, perseverance, all of those things,
Right.
Understanding what you're doing. But I would also say knowing the right people, having people around you who want to see you succeed, having people around you who are maybe more proficient in a certain area than
Right.
you are, and bringing them on to help you in your company. So those are like the basic things that I would say would
Right.
lead to success.
Right. Well, think about this. Just think about this. Your success in life and your enjoyment of life comes
Mhm.
down to the thoughts that are going on in your head most of the time. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Yes.
Well, here's the problem though. You are not wired for success. You're wired for survival, which causes the vast majority of your thoughts to be fear-based, and you're reactive rather than proactive on your important agenda. So when you wake up each morning, you're innately wired to be fear-based. You're innately wired to have a negative inner voice. You are not wired for success. And if you want the exceptional life, you have to fix that problem. And the way you do it is you take control of your mindset by having a morning routine that impacts your mindset, that wires you for success, overrides being wired for survival. And as you'll hear in a second, essentially the secret of Think and Grow Rich is you create immense clarity about your life, and you feed yourself exactly the person you want to be, exactly what you want to accomplish, and precisely how you're going to achieve your clearly defined goals. And when you feed that to yourself, and it takes 12 minutes a day, that overrides being wired for survival, and the right actions happen automatically, and you have a level of control over yourself you've never had before. So that's essentially how it works.
So why the 12 minutes?
Because that's how long it takes to feed the succinct articulation of your desired life to yourself each day.
When the desires of your life each day, are you just talking about reaffirming positivity in your life, thinking positive thoughts in your life, negating the negative thoughts that come into your life?
Well, let me teach this to you at a little more fundamental level. Basically, let me explain the secret, and you'll understand the answer to that question, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So here's essentially how I discovered the secret. Again, I was 50 years old, but and I was feeling the scarcity of time. But there's a little more going on than just that. My mom, unfortunately, was dying of pancreatic cancer, and so every day after work, I'd go see her and hold her hand and love on her, and then, Crystal, I would go in the cold, dark parking lot of the hospital and cry my eyes out, like for 45 minutes or an hour every day. And now this is going on for like 6 to 8 weeks. And of course, I'm feeling the impending loss of my mom, but I'd never experienced this level of emotional upheaval where, you're crying 45 minutes to an hour every night. And what I ultimately realized, and maybe not at the time, but what I realized ultimately was that I felt like I was letting my mom down with my life, because my mom and dad gave me everything. Like, they sent me to Jesuit high school in Dallas when they really didn't have the money. My dad worked for the government, so he didn't make a lot of money. And they sent me to the University of Texas. I didn't have to pay for a thing. And so as my mom was leaving this world, I'm reflecting on all the advantages she had given me. And all I had to show for my life at 50 was the average life. And I hated the average life because I just knew I was capable of so much more. And I see though now, that feeling of letting my mom down was like rocket fuel in causing me to go deeper into thinking, grow rich, and figure out the full secret in a way that other people couldn't do that. And does that make sense?
Yes.
And so I remember the night that I discovered the full secret. And this particular night was snowing, and so it just felt different. So I go see my mom, hold her hand, go in the parking lot, and cry my eyes out as usual. And this is like 6 weeks into this, and I start driving home, and I see the biggest snowflakes hitting my car windshield. And I get home, Crystal, and I sit down and I plop myself in my nice comfy chair, and I start reading Think and Grow Rich. Now, keep in mind, it's probably the 20th time I've read it. And on this particular night, though, I read that your success in life comes down to your daily actions. The cumulative effect of your daily actions determine your success in each area of your life. Okay? I never thought of success in that simpler terms, right? But I'm like, yeah, okay, I certainly buy that. And then, Crystal, I read that 95% of your daily actions are unconscious. Let me say that again. 95% of your daily actions are unconscious. And when I read that, I'm like, wow, I'd never heard that before. And so now I'm ready to go to bed, and I brush my teeth and wash my face and put my little head on the pillow. And I tell you, Crystal, I could not stop thinking about what I just read, that 95% of my daily actions are unconscious. And as I'm sitting there, it's like a bolt of lightning hits me. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. If my daily actions determine my success and 95% of them are unconscious, then I don't control the very thing that determines my success.
And we're talking about your thoughts, right?
No, I'm just, now follow me on this. I'm thinking, if my daily actions determine my success and 95% of them are unconscious, then I don't control the very thing that's determining my success, those daily actions.
Okay.
Now, to your point, every action has to be preceded by a thought.
Right. That's what I'm thinking.
Right. But let's don't confuse it too much for the moment. Just understand that once I realized, oh, my daily actions determine my success, and 95% of them are unconscious, I don't control them. And the other thing that was sort of interesting is I'm like, well, the greatest asset I have is my intelligence and intellect and in my conscious mind. And so if 95% of my daily actions are unconscious, then I can apply my greatest asset to those daily actions. Yet those daily actions are what is determining my success. And so, Crystal, as I'm coming to grips with this, then I'm like, it was really a surreal moment. I remember seeing the snowflakes falling in my backyard, and it truly was like a bolt of lightning. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. So if they're unconscious, what is controlling my daily actions then?
Exactly.
Well, it's my autopilot, my subconscious mind. And then I started to realize, oh, the reason I'm not more successful is not from lack of intelligence or drive. I've just had a false belief about success for 50 years. And that false belief was that I control my daily actions, when in fact, I don't. And that's the same false belief that you probably have, and everybody listening here probably has, is they think they control their daily actions when they don't. And that as that sort of hit me, then the full secret of Think and Grow Rich came to me. And here it is. What you envision in detail with emotion on a daily basis is what shows up in your life. Let me say that again. What you envision in detail with emotion on a daily basis is what shows up in your life. And Crystal, what that means is you step back from your life and you define, here's exactly the person I want to be, exactly what I want to accomplish, and precisely how I'm going to achieve my clearly defined goals. And you take that clarity and you put it on a template I created. And again, putting it on the template helps you create the clarity. And then you feed that to yourself, and it takes about 12 minutes a day. And after you've done this, three things then happen. The first thing you experience is this immense sense of control over your life. Well, of course you'd feel that way. You're feeding the succinct articulation of your desired life to yourself each day. Of course you're going to feel control. Mm-hmm. Second thing you're going to experience is confidence, which is a direct result of the control. And you're also going to feel way less stressed because the mind thrives on order. And by feeding the succinct articulation of your desired life to yourself, you're creating immense order in the mind, and that de-stresses you. And then the third thing you experience is after 21 days, takes that long to rewire your autopilot. After 21 days, then the right actions happen automatically without thinking, and you're impacting your career, your romantic relationship, and your health all at the same time. So that's essentially how it works. Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense. So how do you know exactly what you want in life?
Well,
to be able to write that down succinctly and then look at that and study that, absorb that for 12 minutes every single day for at least 21 days. How does a person know exactly what they want in life, personally and professionally?
That's a very good question. And here's the problem that I see. Mm-hmm. Most people are gliding through life. They are thinking very shallowly about their life. And I think this is facilitated by social media. But we live in this flip through culture. But to a large degree, we all want the same thing. As an example, we all want to have a romantic relationship that's
Hmm.
great, right?
Yes.
Well, when you really step back from your life and go, okay, that's something I want. What's it take to get that? Well, you start looking at it. You go, oh, well, I got to be flexible, patient, and thoughtful, and I need to be this, and I need to be that, and this is what I want from my partner. And once you sort of look at it, then it becomes obvious. And then same thing, health. Well, we want to be healthy. Okay, what's that going to take regarding eating and exercising, right?
Right.
And then on your career, you're um, same thing. What do you want in your career? And with the career, it typically works where you define where you want to be 3 years from now in your career, whether you're an employee or a entrepreneur, and then you go, okay, so here's where I am today. Here's where I want to be. What's got to happen? What are the 4 or 5 milestones to get there? And then all just what you said, which is a great question. How do I understand the clarity in each area of my life?
Hmm.
Well, I've been thinking about this for 20 years. And so I explained to you in my methodology clarity in each area of your life. And one thing you may be wondering, we're like, well, how do I personally create that clarity? Well, it's easy. I have an AI algorithm where all you got to do, Crystal, is answer 50 questions, press a button, and 10 seconds later, my template is customized to your unique life. It's very, very slick and easy. Does that make sense?
That does. That absolutely does. So, when you started doing this personally, John, the 12 minutes, really focusing on what you wanted in your life professionally and personally, what were the first changes or the first things that started happening that made you say, this is really working?
Well, first of all, I never felt so in control over my life. Now it was hard when I first created it to
Hmm.
create, the succinct articulation of my desired life in all the different areas of my life. But once I created it and started feeding it to myself, I'm like, wow, I've never had so much clarity and feel so in control of my life. And that happened immediately. I start reading it every day. That happens immediately. But what happens after 21 days, it takes 21 days to rewire your autopilot, because one thing I meant to say is the subconscious mind only responds to repetition,
Hmm.
and it doesn't respond to logic, and so what you feed it every day, it accepts as true, and it takes 21 days to rewire your autopilot. And I think what may help you understand this, let me just give you a practical example of
Okay.
this, because we've been talking about it in theory. Let me show you exactly how it works. And so this pertains to my marriage, and I met my wife from doing this methodology shortly after I started it, and so every day she and I get going on our day. I go do my thing, she does her thing, and around 6 o'clock in the evening we get back together for dinner. Now, one of the things I affirm in my 12-minute a day methodology is that I am flexible, patient, and thoughtful. And I define what that means in our relationship. I also affirm that my wife is different than me. She does things slow and is people oriented. I do things fast and I am task oriented.
Hmm.
And so off we go on our day. We get back together for dinner, and she starts preparing dinner. And in her world, everything has to be perfect. She's basically a perfectionist. Again, she's
Okay.
different than I am. And so, Crystal, everything's got to be perfect. The napkins have to be in place, everything perfect. Well, in my world, I'm thinking, and keep in mind, I'm only thinking this. I'm like, babe, your boy is hungry. Serve the food. Put the food on the table.
Yes.
But Crystal, I'm only thinking that. I'm
Smart
not
man.
saying that.
Smart man.
But what happens? What happens is at the first hint of impatience, an unconscious thought bubbles up to my conscious mind. To the thought is, John, here's an opportunity to be patient.
Yes.
And so what do? Well, I'm patient. Well, why did that happen? Well, because I'm feeding that to myself every day in my life GPS template that takes me 12 minutes a day to read. And it's what I call the bubble up effect. At the first hint of that impatience, that unconscious thought comes to me at the exact perfect time to go, John, don't react and have the autopilot response of saying something that she won't like, and there's no value in that. All it does is piss her off, and so just be quiet. And I'll give you another example. So, like in my career, I affirm to myself that I focus on the three things that move the needle. Well, when I'm off in my day, at the first hint of feeling I'm unproductive or off in the weeds, the unconscious thought bubbles up to my conscious mind to focus on what moves the needle and not remain on autopilot. And here's an example in my health. I affirm to myself that I want to eat healthy, and I affirm what that means. And at the first hint of hunger, an unconscious thought bubbles up to my conscious mind to eat healthy, and I make the healthy choice as opposed to the leaving that response on autopilot and maybe eating unhealthy based on the stress of the moment. And so the point of all this is that you are moving from living your life on autopilot, where you can only do your key intentions sporadically, to living your life in this bubble up effect and causing your key intentions and key actions to happen consistently using your intelligence and intellect. And that's the difference between the exceptional life and the average life. When you can make your key intentions happen consistently, you're going to have the exceptional life.
Okay, so John, I understand. I'm understanding the 12-minute secret. It definitely helps you move from a futile life, a life of doing nothing, just going every single day on autopilot, to moving with intention.
Right.
When does, and maybe this is my autopilot speaking, when does the actual work start? Like the working with your hands or that part of it? Because I understand the being focused and very intentional and very specific about what it is you want in your personal life, what it is you want in your professional life, writing that down, absorbing that, reading that every day for 12 minutes for at least 21 days.
Right.
When does the work, the physical work, come into play?
Throughout your life. I mean, it's like in the example of having my relationship with my wife. Keep in mind, Crystal, your whole life is in the moment and reactive. You don't
Right.
plan everything you're going to say. You don't plan everything you're
Correct.
going to do. You're just, and that's why, you got to grasp that 95% of your daily actions are unconscious, because once you see that, oh, those actions are happening willy nilly and on autopilot, and that's your life. I mean, that's affecting your health. That's affecting your marriage. That's affecting your career. Are so many people, they're so busy, but so what? They're not focused on what moves the needle. And they've never stepped back to really create clarity. They've never really thought deeply about, well, what's my strategy for success in my career? Uh, and that's, I guess, the point I'm making. Most people, Crystal, are just winging life. They don't have a way of doing life. They just get up and do the best they can. And that was me. So I'm not throwing everybody under the bus, because that was me till I was 50. But once you start doing this 12-minute a day technique, you're just playing the game of life at a whole nother level. And a couple of things I would say to you. One of the foundational pieces of science for your audience to understand is that here's how the human mind works. Conscious mind sets your intentions and is influenced by logic. Subconscious mind is controlling your daily actions, or 95% of them, and it's only influenced by repetition. And like the example, Crystal, is, let's say you want to lose weight. Conscious mind sets the intention to lose weight based on the logic of the health benefits.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason people fail to lose weight is not from lack of intention. It's from lack of controlling their daily actions of eating and exercise. And so you can see, when you're feeding the succinct articulation of your desired life, which includes all the desired actions, that's the repetition the subconscious mind needs to make the right actions happen automatically without thinking. Does that make sense?
Yes. 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 So, John, tell me how, and I know it is different for every person. Tell me how long it took you to meet your wife, not even marry her, but meet her, from the time you started the 12-minute secret. How long did it take to meet your wife? And also, how long did it take you to make that first $1 million from the time you started the 12-minute secret?
Right. Well, I'll take the last question first. It took me about 4 years to get to that. Well, I guess it really took me about 2 years to first cross over to netting $1 million a year. I mean, I remember, like for 20 years, I was making 200, 300,000 a year. And I start doing this, I get in the reverse mortgage business. And I remember going from like 1 year making maybe 300,000 to the next year making 1.5 million net. And I'm like, whoa, this is good. This is good. And then I remember the next year I went to like just under 2 million. And I'm like, well, is the universe telling me that my limit is 2 million?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no. Then like the next year it went to 5 million. And
Wow.
So I saw how, it was amazing to watch that process. And you'd find this interesting. I know you'd find this interesting. So probably 5 or 6 years ago, I thought, I'm going to show this to the top expert in the world on success, whoever he or she is. If I'm going to spend my life on this, I want to see what an unbiased person that really would know thinks about this 12-minute a day methodology I created. And so I ultimately decided that Darren Hardy is the top expert in the world on success.
Okay.
And so I
Is
write
he
it.
located in Texas?
No, he's out in California.
Okay.
He used to be the publisher of Success Magazine. He is arguably the top expert in the world on success. Super sharp guy. And so I write a big check, and Ginger and I fly out to see him. And keep in mind, I've probably met Ginger to answer your question.
Mm-hmm.
I probably met her a year and a half after I started doing this.
Okay.
And fortunately, I have the good sense to marry her. And so
Good man.
I know I had to man up on that one, but so we fly out to La Jolla, California, and sit down with Darren. The moment comes, I put the template in his hands, and he's looking at it and goes, He says, "This is John. This is really good, but people are not going to spend 12 minutes a day on this." I'm like, Darren, how the heck can that be? It 25x my income. Time Magazine did a cover story on the science behind it. We're applying the central concepts of the top book in the world on success to people's lives. I mean, what do you mean they're not going to spend 12 minutes a day on it? And he goes, John, I've been in the success business a long time. And he says, the dirty little secret of the success business is that more success is merely a preference for the vast majority of people.
Okay.
He says that's the case for literally 98% of people. And he says what you've got is only for the 2%, where more success is a necessity. And Crystal, once he explained that to me, it completely changed my understanding, because I thought what I created was for everybody, because everybody wants to be more successful.
Right.
Well, I was unenlightenedly looking at the world like everybody was me. Well, they're not me. Everybody's different. And while I might be driven for success, most people are not. Again, they'd like to be more successful, but if it takes any level of effort, they're out. And so what happened is I ended up thinking, well, I'm going to just go teach this to people like John Mitchell. I'm going to go find entrepreneurs that are netting 200 grand a year and teach them how to take their income to $1 million. And so to lure them in, I gave them a money back guarantee that if I couldn't double their income within a year, I'd give them their money back. Now they had to be netting $200,000 a year minimum. And if you played out the math over 3 years, I was giving them I charged them $20,000. It ended up being a 40-to-1 return with a guarantee. And I gave the guarantee because this is pure science. This works on everyone. It can't not work. If you're a human, it works. Now, it doesn't work if you don't do it, but if you do it, it works. And so I did that for about a year and a half. It worked great. Never had to give anybody their money back, but I also saw how unleveraged it was. And that was the impetus for me to write my book and also create this AI algorithm. But that made me realize, this is not for 98% of people. It's for the serious 2%.
Okay. So did you change anything about the algorithm, anything about this pamphlet, if you will, once you were informed that this is not for everybody, this is maybe for the 2%? Did you change anything, or did you leave it and change your target audience?
No, the latter. I didn't change a thing. I just changed who I went after. And Crystal, what was interesting is, and I sort of alluded to this at the start, when I would tell my story, most people are going to be, they're interested. Oh, that's interesting. You 25x his income. But they're not driven enough to do anything about it. And once I started teaching it to the 2%, they got it immediately. This idea of, oh, you create this immense clarity about your life and feed it to yourself every day, and that wires you for success and takes control of those unconscious daily actions, which are 95% of your daily actions. They got it immediately. There was no pulling on them. There was no, I don't know about, they just got it. And I'll tell you, what I'd like to do, if you're open to it, let me make you have the same epiphany I had. Are you game for this?
Yes.
I think, and you know, you are good. You ask very good questions. So this is going to be interesting to do this with you. And so, how many in your life, do you mind me asking how old you are?
I'm 46, and no, I don't mind.
Well, you are perfect. Your best years are ahead of you.
Thank you.
But you got to get enlightened, just like I had to get enlightened.
Yes.
So in your life at 46, how many epiphanies have you had where somebody taught you something and it changed your life? How many times has that happened?
I don't have a number, but it definitely has happened quite a bit.
Okay. Well, like in my life, it's happened 3 times. Okay.
Wow, I'm surprised you could remember.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm talking about things that were life altering that,
Yes.
I mean, you remember them. And I
Yes.
promise you, if you think a little deeper, you'll go, oh yeah, there's one. There's one. Now there won't be a lot of them, but there'll be some. And so here's the epiphany that I want to work through with you.
Okay.
So 95% of your daily actions are unconscious. I want you to grasp that. And because your actions are determining your success in life, you have got to gain control over those unconscious daily actions. That was the big epiphany I had when I was 50. And does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
And does it also make sense that I know you're going to agree with me on this, but your greatest asset is your intelligence and your intellect. But that's all in your conscious mind.
Correct.
And so by virtue of 95% of your daily actions being unconscious, your greatest asset is not controlling and directing those daily actions. So you follow that, right?
Yes.
Now, do you believe that 95% of your daily actions are unconscious? Do you actually believe that?
I believe it now. It was never something that I thought of or read or considered before I had this conversation with you. But since we've been talking, I can see how that is accurate.
Well, and you'll appreciate this. Let's ask ChatGPT about this, because you're like most people. This is new information.
Yes.
That 95% of your daily actions are unconscious, and so let's get a little third party verification on this. So let me see if she'll cooperate with me here.
Okay.
G, are you there?
Loud and clear, John. What's up?
So I've got a question for you. I understand that approximately 95% of a person's daily actions are unconscious, and that there's a good deal of research backing that up. Is that really true?
It's definitely a popular concept, and there is research showing that a lot of our daily behavior, habits, reflexes, routines, is shaped by unconscious processes. Whether it's exactly 95% is more of a ballpark figure people use to highlight just how much is on autopilot. But the core truth is that we do run a lot more on automatic patterns than we realize.
Right. And it's not unreasonable to understand that 95% of them are unconscious, right?
No, it's not unreasonable at all. It's a useful rule of thumb to emphasize how much of our behavior is driven by ingrained habits, mental shortcuts, and subconscious patterns. While the exact percentage might vary a little depending on the study, the point is that the majority of our daily actions do happen without us consciously deliberating on them. And that's exactly why becoming intentional about those patterns is so powerful.
So I understand that what's really happening is you're taking an action unconsciously, and then a couple of milliseconds later, you're becoming conscious of it. Is that right?
That's pretty close. In many cases, our brains initiate actions or responses based on learned patterns or reflexes. We often become consciously aware after that initial reaction or decision starts. So yes, you could say we consciously catch up just a tiny bit after the unconscious wheels have begun turning.
So, Crystal, think about the profound nature of what you just learned. Your actions are happening unconsciously, and a couple of milliseconds later, you're becoming conscious of it. And that's why a lot of people will go, well, wait a minute. I'm conscious of everything I'm doing, so none of my actions are unconscious.
No, I'm very aware that that is not the case for me.
Right. Well, and you can see it, in a way, it's a little counterintuitive to realize that 95% of your daily actions are unconscious, because it's happening so quick that you're unconsciously taking the action, and then you're becoming consciously aware of it. You think that what's happening is the other way around, that you're consciously taking the action, when in fact that's not happening. You're unconsciously taking the action and you're becoming aware of it. And so once you understand that little nuance, and so let me ask you today, with your morning routine, describe your morning routine.
I usually wake up about 5:53. I am a Christian, so I study and read the Bible. I pray, make my bed, wash my face, brush my teeth, check my email, kind of do some errands outside of work, check my email again. So I'm constantly checking my email throughout the day. And normally I have several things scheduled throughout my day. So
I'm just talking about your morning routine.
Okay. So that's my morning routine.
Well, that is normal, what you're doing. And respectfully, I would call that you're just winging life.
Okay.
Because that's what I was doing. Just getting up and doing the best I could. Except one thing you're doing that I like that's good is you're praying a little bit. You're a step ahead of most people. But if you don't mind me asking, and again, I've been vulnerable, so I want you to be vulnerable. Scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your health?
I'm pretty healthy. I think I would rate it, if I'm being honest, maybe a 7 or 8.
Okay. Yeah. Are you married?
Yes.
So how would you rate your marriage?
On a scale of 1 to 10?
Right.
I think I would probably rate it about the same, maybe 7 or 8. It's pretty good.
Okay. And how would you rate your career, scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, that's a good one. I think, if I'm being honest and I'm being vulnerable, I would rate it. Okay, when we say career, are we talking about financially? Are we talking about emotionally? What part of it? Are we talking about all of it?
Primarily financial, but all of it in general.
If I'm being honest, I think it's probably a 6, maybe 5 or 6. Yes.
Well, and thank you for being honest about that, about all that, because your answers would be more or less what I probably would have answered when I was 50. So, are you satisfied with that?
I'm not satisfied with the career. I definitely want to do more. As you know, a matter of fact, that was something I was praying about this morning, that I can grow my company. So I'm not satisfied with that. My health, I feel like there's always room for improvement on that. My marriage, there's always room for improvement on that. But I think maybe overall, the overarching, I would say I'm satisfied. But I understand that there's room and need for improvement in all aspects.
Well, look at it this way. And this is what I tell my class. I teach them, I'm going to teach you how to have the exceptional life. This isn't really about the money, although it directly impacts the money. But, and this is just me listening to what you said. I'm like, you should not be satisfied with a 7 on your marriage, or a 7 on your health, or a 6 on your career. And if you keep on doing what you're doing, you're going to keep on getting those same results. Now keep in mind, most people, you're not most people, but most people are going to go, yeah, I'd like to be more successful, but not a big deal. I'm not going to make the effort to do this technique of creating this immense clarity and feed it to myself. But, that's the real thing I would say to you. And I think you'll really appreciate this. God gave you your precious life, just like he gave me my precious life. And I'm like, I am so appreciative of this life that I've been given, that I want to play it at my full potential. I don't want to be playing the game of life where I'm a 7 on my marriage, 7 on my health, 6 on my career. That's unacceptable to me, especially when somebody's given me a way to play this game of life at a higher level. And so that's the epiphany I'm seeking for you to have, that, oh, wow, this guy has taught me something I didn't know that is profound, that 95% of my daily actions are unconscious, and there's a way to take control of those unconscious daily actions and get my career up to a 10, and my marriage up to a 10, and my health up to a 10.
Is it possible though, John? Because when we say 1 to 10, I'm assuming 10 is perfection. Is it possible to have perfection at all in any part of your life?
Well, that's a great point. No, you're right. In fact, there's nothing in my life that's a 10. I mean, it's all pretty much at a 9, but you're right. I mean, there's a 10 is perfection. And so I might get it to a 9.3, a 9.4, but there's always something. And one of the things I see that's interesting is when I'm feeding the succinct articulation of my desired life, I'm just understanding my life at a deeper and deeper level. And I'm seeing little nuances, and I'll go into my life GPS template and change a word here or there. And that'll then move me further along to my path. But I think for someone that's like you, that believes in God and is by your nature spiritually oriented, this is how you play the game of life at a higher level. But you got to be driven enough to do it. And I think the difference is with people is most people are not that driven. Just like Darren Hardy said, they're okay with muddling through life. Well, what I've got is not for you. Then, forget my methodology for you if it's not a necessity. Because if it's not a necessity, you might try the 12 minutes. Of course, what I see is everybody that tries it, if they stick with it 21 days, they've never experienced the right actions happening automatically without thinking. Then they're hooked. But they typically, if they're not really driven, they won't make the effort to read the book and to create the clarity and answer the 50 questions And so that's why I say it's for the people that are serious about success.
Now, I know you said one of the prereqs, if you will, John, to your 12-minute secret is you need to be driven by success. But throughout this conversation, you stated that when you started this, you were making about 300,000.
Right.
When you started teaching it to business men and women, they were making 200,000 at least.
Right.
So is that another prereq that financially you need to be in the six figures for this 12-minute secret to work?
It does if you want me to coach you personally. But you know, I don't know. I'm about leverage, and I see that having a book and making it available to a lot of people, as opposed to only the people that could stroke a check for 20 grand to pay me, is a way better way to do it. And one thing I would say to your audience, and I'm proud of this. It took me 2 years to get my methodology vetted at the University of Texas. And a lot of people don't know this, but the University of Texas McCombs School of Business is rated one of the top 5 business schools in the country, right up there with Harvard and Stanford. And so I feel so honored and blessed to be on the faculty, but it still took me 2 years to get it approved by them. And so the reason I share that is that if people are listening to this, most things have not been vetted at the highest level like this has. This is just not another get rich quick scheme. This has been vetted at the very highest level. And so I think that hopefully gives people a level of comfort that maybe they wouldn't otherwise have.
Absolutely. Well, John, we're pushing up on our hour mark here, but I will say this is the first time I've had ChatGPT speak to me on my podcast. So that is a first. That's a great way to bring in 2026. So thank you very much for that. But I want to know, for my final question as we end our conversation, John, what is your intention in this space of spreading the secret? And most successful people, I would assume, and I could be incorrect, I would assume that once they learn the secret of success, once they learn the secret of, doubling their income or 25 times over, they keep that information to themselves.
Well,
what is your intention?
Well, it's really simple. I just feel so incredibly blessed with the life that I have, that I feel like I honor that by sharing what I discovered. And here's what's interesting, and you're a good example of this. Only 1 in 7 people has ever heard of Think and Grow Rich, which, consider that. It's the top book in the world on success by a factor of 10. 150 million people have read it, but only 1 in 7 people in the United States have ever heard of it. What that tells me is that we can't tell the profound from the mundane, because we live in a world of clutter. And that's what was so dynamic when I turned 50. I had read the book when I was 42, and it did not change my life. I thought it was a great book, but only when I was 50 and realized it's the top book in the world on success by a factor of 10, did that incentivize me to go really deep and figure out the secret. Because when I read the book when I was 42, I couldn't figure out the secret, and I wasn't motivated enough to figure out the secret. And so, all this is giving you an edge in life. And my life experience has been, if you don't have an edge in life, you're going to get the average life. And so I want the exceptional life. And so that's what this is giving you an edge in life. And it takes 12 minutes a day.
Okay. So I do have one final question for you in regards to your mother. Did she pass away or is she still with us?
No, she passed away, but Crystal, you'd appreciate this. She went to the University of Texas, and so
Okay.
of course, and I just started a new class about a week and a half ago. So I tell them the story about my mom that I told you, and it's hard almost sometimes to tell that story without tearing up.
Right.
But, and there's days. I mean, I meditate for after I do my life GPS template and read it for 12 minutes a day. There's days every day I take about 5 minutes and I meditate. And there are days every once in a while that I'll just cry because I feel so blessed with this life, but that's what spurs me on to teach it to other people, because we're not splitting atoms here. This is all very simple, and so I just want to honor this life that I've been blessed with, and can I leave you with one final story? You'd appreciate this.
Yes, and I have a follow-up question. Go ahead.
Okay. So do you have kids?
Yes.
How old are they?
25, 14, and 11.
Okay. Well, you'd appreciate this. So I guess it's about 4 or 5 years ago, Ginger and I have our first grandkids. Now, she was married before me, and they're not my kids, they're my stepkids. But anyway, big deal to the Ginge to have grandkids. And so I coerce my stepdaughter to name the new baby after Ginger.
Oh, very sweet.
Genevieve. And so the day after baby Genevieve was born, we go over to Hannah's house. And as you would know, there's a lot of oohing and awing about the baby. And Crystal, for some reason, they hand me the baby and walk away. Now, I don't know why that happened, but they hand me this precious 1-day-old little girl, and they walk away, and I'm on the couch, and I'm feeling the warmth of her body in my arms. And I'm thinking how precious this life is. And I start to cry. I mean, tears start flowing down my face. And I'm just holding this 1-day-old little girl. And I realized that she's going to live to be 100 years old. Mm-hmm. And the quality of her life is going to come down to the thoughts that are going on in her head most of the time. That's going to determine her enjoyment of her life, and it's going to affect her success in life and what she's able to achieve. And I'm like, by God, I'm going to impact the thoughts that are going on in that little girl's head. And so, I share that story because with your listeners, your life is precious. Mm-hmm. Your life is precious. And when you put your head on the pillow tonight, just think about your life. And if the next 3 years of your life are like the last 3 years of your life, will you be happy? And if you're not going to be happy with that, you've got to stop winging life. You learned a way to do life, and you learned a way to create the life you desire. And again, it just takes 12 minutes a day.
Okay, so I have 3 questions in one, John. This is my final question.
Okay.
Number 1, what was your mother's name? Number 2, did the 12-minute secret help you deal with her passing? And number 3, do you think your life right now would be pleasing to her? Because after all, that was the initial thought that drove you to accomplish all of that your mother, your father probably were not happy or satisfied with your life.
Well, my mom's name was Eleanor.
Okay.
And what was the second question?
Did the 12-minute secret help you deal with her passing?
That's a great question, because what you see with this 12-minute day technique on one level is you're articulating literally 40 to 50 things that you want to be and do in your life. And by being able to do those things consistently versus sporadically, that's what creates the exceptional life. But at a deeper level, part of the template is not just saying I'm this, I'm that. It's reflecting on your philosophy about life, and you're continually refining that. And so, as she passed, and I, created this and figured it out. Yes, I was putting my life in perspective about losing my mom, and now I need to live my life to honor the advantages she gave me. And, candidly, I wasn't concerned about helping other people at 50. I was just trying to create a good life for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I was blessed to create it, then I'm like, oh, I am all about helping other people. Mm-hmm. And so, and what was the third question?
The third question, do you think your mother and father would be proud and satisfied with the life that you have built? Because that thought is what drove all of this, the 12-minute secret, the reading the book over and over again.
Oh, my mom's proud of me. So is my dad. They're up in heaven, and I know they're proud of me. But I'm proud of them. I'm so thankful to them. It's really not about me. It's and I think what my mom would be most proud of, and again, my dad too, is the desire to help other people and to share this and not get caught up in ego and all that. And I have things that, like, oh, I don't know. I bought a new present for myself that's totally fun, but and a little bit of, materialistic thing, but I'm about helping people.
John Mitchell, thank you so much for being on this podcast. Our mutual friend, David Pygon,
right,
referred you to me about being on the podcast, and every single thing that he said in that email is absolutely true. He said that you are amazing. He said that you were giving. He said that you were caring. He said that you were passionate and energetic and an excellent educator. All of those things are absolutely true about you.
Well, I'm honored that both of you say that. So thank you.
Yes. So thank you again, John Mitchell, for being on the podcast. Hook 'em horns, hook 'em horns.
Okay, you're my friend now. I tell you,
hook 'em horns for you. I follow all things UT, but I especially follow the girls basketball team.
Do you really?
I do.
Well, I've got courtside seats for them. Vic Schaefer's my good friend. Who's your favorite player?
Booker is my favorite player. She is amazing. She is a female version of Kevin Durant, and I love watching her play.
Well, watch Aaliyah Crump. She's a freshman.
Yes.
And she's been hurt, but she was one of the top 5 recruits. And you'd find this interesting. Arch Manning was in my class. And
was he?
So and a lot of the football players are in my class, and
as so they should be.
Right. That's sort of what I think.
Yeah. Well, his uncle Peyton Manning is my favorite football player of all time. So,
right. Okay. Well, like you say, hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em horns, Mr. John Mitchell. To my community, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. You can get John's podcast and all of my other podcasts on YouTube Podcasts and Apple Podcasts. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.